Hey guys, Greg from FactionFab, and today in this video we're going to be talking about the new steering wheels that we're releasing for the 2008 to 2014 WRX and STI. And then we're going to show you how to install one on your car. Now we have a few different styles here. There are 5 going down the line. We have a full leather, leather and suede, full suede, suede and carbon fiber, and then leather and carbon fiber. So these are all going to be top quality, genuine materials that we use to make these. So it's going to be real leather, real suede, real carbon fiber, nothing imitation or fake on these. Now the sides on all the wheels are going to be perforated. So you're going to have perforated leather on these ones, then a perforated suede. And then you have a textured leather and then just a regular suede on the top of these two here. The perforation really looks and feels fantastic. We have red baseball stitching on all the wheels, and it's going to be a perfect match to the OEM red on the models that come with those, as well as a red center positioning stripe. This is leather on these 3 models, and then it's going to be painted on the carbon fiber models. And the biggest thing we're excited about with these wheels is they're all going to be an OEM fitment for your car. So it's going to bolt in with the airbag and steering controls all right in the car with no modification necessary. So I have an OEM wheel here that we're going to use to compare and show you some of the differences. The FactionFab wheel is going to be a 355 millimeter wheel, which is a slightly smaller diameter than the OEM wheel. Then we went thicker around the outside. We have a contour padding on the 3 and 9 o'clock, and then a D-shaped flat bottom that's going to be standard across all the different models. For the feel, we decided to go firm, so it's going to give you a nice grip that's going to be just as at home on the track as well as on the road. Now I picked my favorite wheel. It's the carbon and suede model, and we're going to use this to install on one of our cars. Let's get started. For install, we'll need a 10 millimeter wrench or socket, a T30 Torx bit, a small flathead screwdriver or a pick, a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, a 6-point 17 millimeter socket that we also used a small extension with, and then ratchets and a torque wrench. An impact wrench is optional, but helpful for removing the steering wheel. Disconnect the negative battery terminal with a 10 millimeter wrench or socket. After you've disconnected the terminal, depress the brake pedal to drain any leftover voltage in the system. This is extremely important before disconnecting the airbag. Using the T30 Torx bit, remove the bolts securing the airbag. They're located behind the wheel inside small holes in the cover on both the left and right side. You'll need to make sure you have either a long Torx bit or an extension. Alright guys, so now we're to the point where we want to go ahead and remove the airbag from the steering wheel. There's 2 different ways you can do it, with a flathead screwdriver or a pick. I'm going to go ahead and use the pick for this demonstration just to show you what we're going to be looking for. So we've removed the 2 screws already. We're going to go ahead and pull the airbag out. You can see there's still wires connected, so you want to make sure you're really careful when you're pulling this out. And then we have these 2 connectors here. There's an orange and a black, and then the yellow locking clip. So what we want to do is we want to take our clip or our pick and very carefully just pry under the yellow locking tab until it pops up. You can see it's up there, and then once this is up, then you can go ahead and pull the connector. If it is a little bit stubborn, you can just use your pick again and carefully pry it out, and it comes out nice and easy. Then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the black connector. And pry this up, and those are disconnected. And then we go ahead and we do this brown wire spade connector, and our airbag is off. So we want to make sure and handle this very carefully while it's off of the wheel. Obviously this is an explosive, very dangerous, so handle it carefully, don't drop it, don't damage it, put it off to the side where it's somewhere safe. So the airbag to the side, and then we're going to go ahead and undo this wiring harness for the steering wheel control buttons. It's this white clip on the top, and you just squeeze on the top and bottom, and then it pulls out. And then it is routed through the back cover of the steering wheel, so we'll go ahead and pull that out just so we can make sure it doesn't get damaged, and then we can lift it out of the way. And now we're ready to pull the steering wheel. I'm going to go ahead and use an impact wrench because it makes this super easy. But this is the point where you want to make sure, number 1, your steering wheel is perfectly straight. And at this point, from now until we get the steering wheel back on, we want to make sure we do not turn the steering wheel at all, just so we can make sure we get it lined up again at the end. Because if it's off center, you'll have to pull the wheel, turn it, fix it, and it's a really big pain to get it correct it if it's off from the beginning. So we had this straight of our 6-point socket, and it comes right off. So now we have everything pulled. We are ready to pull the steering wheel off. I find it easiest to just push on the left and right like this, and you rock it off the spindle, and then it comes off. When you do, make sure that you're careful with the wiring harness for the airbag. Let it come through, and then we can pull the steering wheel off. So our clock spring is going to stay attached to the hub. We want to avoid turning it while the steering wheel is off, just because that can throw off a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead and take some tape and just tape it down. That will prevent it from spinning while we're working. Now let's go ahead and we'll go over to our workbench and we'll transfer everything from the OEM steering wheel to our FactionFab steering wheel. All right, so we have our FactionFab steering wheel here. On carbon fiber models, we want to go ahead and keep this foam padding on while we do the install, just to prevent any damage to the clear coat on there. And what we need to do is we need to get the steering wheel buttons and the cover onto this wheel. It can all be done with the number 2 Phillips screwdriver. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the back cover with these 2 screws here. Two screws are out, and then it's hooked here on the bottom spoke. We just go ahead and spread the hooks, and then the back cover comes right off. Go ahead and flip the steering wheel over, and then these are how the buttons are held in. 2 more screws, and all 4 of these are the same size, so you don't need to worry about keeping them separate. And there's our buttons. So let's start with the buttons here. I'm going to line them up from the front. And then we can put screws in. And these are just plastic in here, so you don't need to over tighten these, just snug. All right, now our buttons are on. Let's go ahead and do our steering wheel cover. And if you notice, this does have the airbag bolts still in here. They are held in place. They can come out through the center, but we can just go ahead and leave them right there. We don't have to worry about losing them. So line this up, and we want to make sure we don't pinch this wiring harness for them. Slide it on. First thing I like to do is make sure this hooks there, and then we can go ahead and do these 2 screws too. And again, same situation here with the plastic. You don't need to go too tight. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go back over to the car. All right, so now that we're back in the car, we can go ahead and install the steering wheel. As long as the clock spring has not moved, we're ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take off this tape. I'm going to carefully route the wiring harness through the top of the steering wheel. There's the hole right inside. And then I just want to make sure the steering wheel looks perfectly straight while I press it onto the hub. And it does have splines, so you'll feel a spot where it goes in. And then go ahead and give it a good push. And then we can install our 17mm nut. And then we have our torque wrench. It's already set to 28 foot-pounds. So we are going to go ahead and tighten this up. Okay, now that's torqued to spec. Now we want to get this button harness plugged back in. Just line it up and push. You'll feel it click. And then we want to make sure we also put the wiring harness through these stays that are in the back cover. I'll make sure they don't get tangled while you're steering and driving. Now we're ready for the airbag. Start with the brown spade connector. And then we do our black and orange connectors. With these, you just make sure you push in the main part of the plug, and then you push down on the yellow locking tab. You'll feel it click. It's really good feedback. And give them a good tug, make sure they're not going to come out, and we're good to finish installing. Once we have the airbag in place, we can tighten the bolts again with the T30 Torx bit. All right, once we have the airbag installed, we're good to go ahead and remove the foam padding. And then the wheel is on. Go ahead and connect your battery, start up the car, and make sure there's no airbag lights on. If there are, you want to make sure you can go back and double check all the connections are good. And if you're still having trouble, we recommend taking it to a professional shop so they can diagnose any problems that might have happened during the install. And then you're good. If you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on our social media, and thanks for watching.